And they have better things to do than just getting into the postseason. We'll get to that now with our good buddy Don Mattingly, manages the team, manager of the year, the whole 9 yards. And of course, we'll do a little throwback Thursday with him too. This is one of the great hitters in a period of time there for the Yankees that they've seen. And he says hello. Don, happy holidays. It's a pleasure. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Happy holidays, Chris.
Always a pleasure, Don. I mean, not only did you make the playoffs, which was an accomplishment enough with the COVID thing earlier in July, you doubled down and beat the Cubs. I mean, I know the Braves, hey, they were very good. That was a tricky series, but what a season for you and the franchise. Let's go through that for a sec. Go ahead.
Yeah, obviously proud of the season that we put together. I thought our guys did a tremendous job of dealing with all the COVID issues, 60-game season, everything that you go through, but they believed in themselves and they hung together. Thought our staff did a nice job. Actually, front office did a great job of replacing players when we were beat up a little bit there early. And it was a nice step forward for our organization. We have been, obviously going through a lot of a build, but it was nice to take a step forward for our players to experience not only getting into the postseason, but then winning a series and playing in it. I think it was really good for our guys.
Oh, it cemented it, Donnie, winning the series against the Cubs. I mean, it would have been an accomplishment enough just to get in. But the fact that you won a series against a team that's got money and is a big-time team, that cements it. I'm not trying to say that if you had lost that series, it still wouldn't have been successful, but you doubled down there in that two-game sweep against the Cubbies. That had to feel awfully good. And the way you did it with pitching and playing playoff baseball had to make you feel great, no?
It made us all feel great. And like you said, pitching, and I think that's the one thing that we had in our pocket that we knew. When you got guys like Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, Sixto Sanchez, these guys are capable of shutting you down. I don't care how good you are. So that gave us, plenty of optimism going into the series in Chicago. We just had been really good on the road all year. It was something that we were used to. We were confident going into Chicago, and our pitching did a great job.
Phenomenal. Can't do better than that. The Braves are the Braves. You managed the Dodgers for a while, so you know some of those players. Did you root for them in the World Series?
Oh, absolutely. I think the lots of guys there that had it seemed like that club. I don't know how they keep it together. Those guys stay around forever. But I think Clayton, watching what he's been through in the postseasons, I thought nationally he got a little better, fair assessment of what he has been in the postseason. Thought that was great for him to accomplish that. Felt great for him. JT, Corey Seager, Kike. I mean, so many of those guys, Pedro, Baez, bullpen guys even. It was good to see them get over the hump, and especially, even ownership, Mark Walters and Andrew and those guys, they did a great job there.
It's funny, Don, I was just thinking about it. You're sort of an in-between manager here. You got the older crew, Terry Francona, I think of first, who been around a long time, and, Girardi maybe to a certain degree, who can do it, who are big-time managers. And then you got the new group, the analytic guy, the data-oriented person who does it his way. And then you kind of fall in between. And I think that's why it's so good to see you be successful. Because, a lot of people think Donnie, represents old-time baseball, but you're not a guy that was been in this for 30 years, as some managers. And you're not a guy who, just got out of Dartmouth, who is 31 years old, who has been a pro personnel director. So from that standpoint, you're sort of in between. So that's why it's very, very good to see you have so much success here lately with the Marlins. Do you feel the same way about that at all, or no?
I feel good about, Chris, this game is all about adjustments. And I think you continually make adjustments. I'm sure you've had to make them with your show and what you do. Things change. You have to constantly adjust with the players, with the information, with how we present it, with how you present things to players, changes. So, I'm proud of the fact that I feel like I'm able to continue to make adjustments, keep staying in the present, don't get caught in the past, don't forget your past, use it as experience, but also you have to continue to grow. And that's just the way I look at it. I want to get better all the time. And that's kind of the beauty of an older manager, honestly, is that as a player, you know your time's running out. And that clock's running and you're only going to last so long. As a manager, you almost feel like you get better the older you get. You got more life experiences. You've been through more baseball experiences. Things just tend to come easier and easier as you get a little older.
Fair point. You're right. The clock does reverse to a certain degree. As far as managing the player today, now you've managed for a while here, and you obviously played for a long time back, 30 years ago. So you know the manager-player relationship. I always hear it's changed so much. You can't yell at the player. You got to, you sort of got to lead them by the hand much more than you used to. You have to treat them with, you can't dictate. You sort of have to suggest. And that's what you mean by adjusting. Has it changed that much, the player-manager relationship, Don, since you started in the sport?
A little bit. It's definitely changed, but it's just like raising your kids, right? That's changing. The music changes, things change. I think I've always felt like you need to treat the players with respect. And I think what you want to do, for me, I want to make them part of what we're talking about. I don't want to dictate what we're going to do. I want to talk about what we think we should do. How do you feel about that? I think you set certain parameters. You want to give players freedom. But I think they need to know where the edges are, where that, hey, we'll put up with X, but we're not going past that. And here's the responsibilities that go along with that. So I think just the communication and the talk back and forth, making them part of the process, helps the communication. And quite honestly, things change. Internet, social media, the way they look at it, the way they talk about the game, it's just different. But it doesn't necessarily make it wrong. It's just different.
Last thing before we take a quick break and do your career here, which I'm always interested in as far as your Yankee days and what have you. From a standpoint of Marlins this year now forthcoming, they're going to be a little more, holding on to what you've accomplished is a little more of a bullseye on the team's back. Everybody knows you're dangerous. You got older players sometimes, you got a young pitching staff, but there's going to be an expectation level in 2021. That's a different mindset for a team. You have to get that point across there in spring training. Give me some thoughts there.
Yeah, I think we still got a lot to prove, and that's one of the things we talked about with our players after the Atlanta loss. Atlanta lets you know where you're at, and that we have to get better. We have to improve. We're proud of what we accomplished last year, but this is just the beginning of it for our organization. And I think this year is a tough year. This is a kind of a tweener year for us because we know we've got young players that are on the cusp. You don't want to get in the way of their development and their time, but you've got to go prove it. And sometimes players take time in different ways. One guy takes a half a year to make the adjustment. Some guy takes a year and a half. So we're in between, I think. But the one thing that I think that we'll hang our hat on is that pitching staff. And that pitching staff stays healthy and we catch the baseball for them, we're going to be in a lot of games. We're going to have a chance to win a lot of games.